road preparation is the biggie, but we need to have the discussion. Good.
One of the things we're trying to do next year one of the things that council is going to work on too for next year's capital budget is having it done and loaded in November so that staff can go out and get the tenders for the contract and prepare better. What happened last year too when this came to tender, it was late. So we need to move out of that whole process for it. I understand that.
Oh, and we have terrible weather challenges. You look at the rain last year. It's crazy. Justin, you had a question.
I got about 6, but it's kind of a continual one. One,
we only have the room till noon, but that's okay.
With regards to the code of conduct, is council looking at expanding their code of conduct over to the staff?
We haven't had that discussion.
I think you need to, because especially with the crosswalk and the sidewalk issue extending out of Marywoods, anybody that was at the meeting last year that Dave put on up at the Legion knows that Marywoods came back in August of 2014. Actually, it was before that, when Marywoods was first being established. And they came to council and said, we need a crosswalk. We need safe access across the highway to get to a trail that's been established. Councillors have been told up until, I'm trying to think back on my timeline, but they were told continually for a period of time that the MTO is not going to allow it. That happened right up until the point that I fired off a letter to the MTO and asked if this is correct. Is it correct that the Ministry of Transportation isn't going to allow a community to put in a safe passage across the highway? We're all community members. We all live here. We know that through the winter time, you can walk across the highway. You can walk down the highway. That's not the issue. It's the summertime when we have tons of tourists come in that we have the issue. Do we have a speed issue? Absolutely. Cam Ivey said last year at the meeting that if we were to drop the speed limits, he'd have to open up another account because in the wintertime, you come out of Grand Bend at a higher rate of speed. It's absolutely true. Never once did we ask to drop the speed limit so that people would be fined or incur more costs. We asked this as a safety aspect. The progression of it led to the question, well, if we can't put the crosswalk in, can we at least provide the community with a way into town? And that was when the sidewalk issue came back up. The sidewalk issue was included in the process, but it was never actually decided on. Even though we have words coming back that it was decided in the capital budget, what I want to know is, one, why was the community told that the MTO wasn't going to allow a crosswalk? Because that's just ridiculous. The Ministry of Transportation is there to keep safe roads. Two, why did council not challenge that? And why did we maintain spending $50,000 on a sidewalk that we have on the other side of the road when the main issue was a crosswalk? Is that because council doesn't want to take acceptance of the fact that their staff led them to believe that we weren't allowed to do it by MTO standards? Because we're doing the same thing throughout the community at No Frills and at Tim Hortons, which is same part of road in the village of Grand Bend. I was negotiating it because people kept telling us it was a connecting link. They don't have control of it. Well, they do. Unfortunately, Dave, you asked the question the other day about what they're going to do about Van Doggen. What if Van Doggen residents want to cross over to that trail? Well, I thought about it. That area? That's absolutely the Ministry of Transportation. That's not the village of Grand Bend. The speed limit's 80 there. It's not 60. It's not pedestrian use. Why is it that we're wasting $50,000